Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Voice of British Orthodoxy. I am, of course, Lazar. Today's video is going to be titled Why Every Orthodox Christian Should Get a Private Pilot's License. And for those of you that might remember, in our last video on the directories and whatnot of the churches in Britain and Ireland, I said that, where I went over, the different churches, and I think overall, I don't know if I actually mentioned it, but it had like 90%. I said that there was an extra idea that was blessed by my spiritual father that we are going to be doing this week. And this is, well, as in next week, which is now this week, and this is that. So, I hope you all are going to, at the very least, watch this with an open mind. Before we do start, I am not going to be talking about any of the technical stuff or how to obtain it. I'm only going to be talking about how getting a private pilot's license could be beneficial to the Holy Orthodox Church. I've decided to put together a presentation, so you might notice on this, we've got, I think the monk's name is Joseph or something, and he's waving the Byzantine Constantinople Greek flag towards some Greek fighter jets. I think they could be Eurofighters, I'm not entirely certain. The Delta Wing does suggest Eurofighter Typhoons, but anyway. And so, yeah, I will be focusing on how this is beneficial to the Orthodox Church. If you do not know much about the private pilot's license, I recommend you do your own research, preferably after this video, because obviously I'd like you to, at the very least, hear the case as to why you should, consider it, if you haven't already, before you do go and do any research, having any whatever flights. Right, I am not commenting on you as an individual. Whether or not it is right for you is effectively between you, your spiritual father, and I guess you could even throw in your bishop as well. As you probably are aware, I am just a nobody, I am just a voice on the internet. So what I say should be taken with a grain of salt, and you should always listen to... I've just realised I have... and you should always... You should always listen to your priests and bishops. Also, some of this is more applicable to our American brothers and sisters, and that is totally fine. I know a lot of Americans do consider themselves British, so... hey, consider this to be your video. Because some of these points are especially more applicable for the Americans. But again, I also think that as an Englishman, or, if you're watching this as an Irishman, as an Australian, etc., matter of fact, this could be just as worthwhile for any Aussies or Kiwis watching this as well. So, yeah, I guess I should probably point out I've always been a bit of a aviation fan, and so, yeah, this video came to idea because I was like, how can I actually, combine my faith with one of my biggest interests, and eventually I came up with this idea that you could benefit the church, which we will go into in a second, and somehow my spiritual father blessed me to make this video, which I do hope you will enjoy. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, feel free to subscribe if you want to see more British Orthodoxy content. Right, so here's a brief summary. I'm effectively gonna make 4 points in this video, and then I've managed to get some nice stock images of general aviation, also known as private pilot planes. So here we have some sort of Piper, and then we've got some Cessnas. Anyway, so when we talk about private pilot's license, these are the kind of aircraft that you would be flying once you get it. Again, I won't talk too much. So point one is just that I won't... okay, wait. Let's just go back a bit. I won't be talking too much about technical stuff, but, I do want to... I put these here just so that you are aware that I'm not asking you to fly the massive aircraft that take you on holiday, that take you across continents, countries, whatever. Anyway, so, God gives people... So point one will be that God gives people talents, and also that, it's a great way of building your ability to trust in God. Two is that it will be beneficial for the sake of pilgrimages, whether blessed by the priest or similar to what I normally call in other videos, the mini pilgrimages, where a few of us with the priest blessing go away without a priest, or like with it only being like a few of us. The third point will be missionary / evangelizing aspects, or, it's great for missionary work, which we will get to. And then 4 is that outside of these two, you can also serve the parish. So let's get into point 1. Point 1, God gives people talents and also trusting in God. Maybe I could have split these into 2 separate points, but I didn't want to risk, this video being, too long. But anyway, so point 1 is, as we know from Scripture, God gives people talents and callings, so there are some, verses here, so 1 Corinthians 12, chapter 12, verses 4 through 6, Romans chapter 12, verse 6, the parable of the talents, which is from the Gospel according to St. Matthew, and that is from chapter 25, and it's verses 14 to 30, where, God rewards people based upon talents. There's also 1 Peter 4:10, and we even see this in the Old Testament at the beginning of the 31st chapter of Exodus, verses 1 through 6. Feel free to go and read these if you would like. This talent can be useful to the benefit of the This is a talent. The ability to fly a plane is absolutely a talent. One that you might be natural at, or you might develop it for the sake of serving the church, because you might be convinced by this video, or maybe this is something that you and your friends have discussed IRL, as a way of, whatever. Anyway, and if you have any inclination towards aviation, this could be a way of using it for the good and the benefit of the Holy Church. Flying also requires you to trust in God. So it's like, sometimes the weather is bad, you trust in God that you will be able to use your train, and you'll be guided to making that safe landing. I think I've made my point with this, and it also kind of requires you to exert a degree of self-control. It requires forbearance, because there are going to be the days where you are delayed, and having that patience is going to be very useful to you. And it also requires you to be peaceful. And these are great attributes for Orthodox Christians to have and, to hone and make stronger. Matter of fact, if I could have put this here, but I chose not to. Saint Seraphim of Sarov actually even goes far to say that if you acquire, is it calm or peaceful? I mean, a calm or peaceful spirit, I forget which one it is, thousands around you will be saved. So, a great way of helping, it's a great way of, ironing out things like self-control, forbearance, and peace, and becoming more peaceful. Right. So, point 2, and this is probably the easier one to speak of, which is pilgrimages. So, I guess for anybody wondering, this is the monastery in Essex dedicated to St. John the Baptist. It is run by the Ecumenical Patriarchate, so this is under Thyatira. This is one of the Ephraimite monasteries. I think it's the one in Arizona, which is dedicated to St. Anthony, if I remember correctly. And this one, for those of you that might not recognize it, is Platina. Yes, it's in the one where, the Lord willing, he'll be canonized soon, but Blessed Father Seraphim Rose was at. And there's also plenty of other Platina elders who are canonized saints and holy men. Right, so not only when I say this route opens, I mean as in, going down the route of getting your private pilot's license. This doesn't just allow you to go on more pilgrimages. I'm from the Midlands, as some of you may know. Not only does it allow us to, have more days where we could be like, you know what, let's go to Essex. Or, where we can go somewhere new, like up towards Newcastle, to head towards the ruins of Iona, where some very important British saints were. It also this opens up, or at the very least makes it easier to go to these far north places to venerate the Scottish saints, to be able to visit the Mull Monastery, that's it, I couldn't think of it for a second. Getting a private pilot's license would mean that we'd be able to land pretty close, and then it's like, what, a nice hike or something towards the place where you take the boat to go there, hypothetically speaking. If you're in America, this could open up towards you flying down the coast or whatever towards Arizona to head towards this St. Anthony's, or to head towards any other monastery such as Platina. Also, for the most part, what do you think is cheaper? Going on a... Okay, I'm combining points here, multiple points here, but it is going to be cheap. What do you think is cheaper? Spending, again, like, potentially half a day driving up north to Scotland and then driving back in petrol, or flying there with 1 or 2 stops plus landing fees. It is cheaper. It is probably cheaper to... Well, it would be cheaper to fly there, you, your friends, maybe depending on which aircraft you rent, whatever, for you lot to head up. It is cheaper for you to pay all of that than it would be to pay for the amount of petrol that you would need. And that's assuming that, and that's even including the fact that, and that's even assuming that you don't go via toll roads. I know in America there's a lot more toll roads and stuff, so it would be even cheaper. It would be even cheaper, especially if you're doing other things, but again, we're going to just focus on the church aspect. And so it's like, would you rather... So, it also gives you some freedom in the form of, if, again, as I just mentioned, you might have to spend like half a day doing each day travelling there and back, half a day travelling there, half a day travelling back, or even potentially upwards of a full day in like the United States and Australia and potentially other parts. And this would also reduce travel times because, for the most part, it's quicker to fly than drive a car. And also, in general, this will give you more freedom in arranging pilgrimages, so it's like... A person with a slightly tighter schedule will have more freedom in potentially being able to join you and receiving, you know, the holy wisdom from the monks. You might say that these points are stretched out, but I think you might all think that these are a bit of a stretch, but I also think some of you watching this will concede that these points are valid. Maybe it might not be too much cheaper, but at the very least you cannot deny the speed. Even though I would also make the case that it would also, again, be much cheaper. Missionary and point 3 of missionary and evangelism is my third point. As we saw last week in our video about the different, you know, churches in the UK and Ireland, and also, and I'd also throw in our American brothers and sisters here. There are gaping holes where there is no church, and the person might have to travel 5 to 6 hours to go to a service. I do believe that this map is outdated, but for the sake of simplicity, let's just grant that it's still accurate. Like, look at all these grey areas where there is no Orthodox church. Again, I do think that this is outdated. But still, imagine you live, like, I don't know, here. You could fly here, which would help the local area. You could fly here, you could fly here, you could fly down here. Even potentially across state lines. You could, you know, you could fly upwards of here, you could fly to here, whatever. You could fly and help reduce these, reduce potential travel times. A lot of towns and villages are close to somewhere that has a sort of airfield. These airfields are not just suitable for you and your hypothetical private aircraft, they also have, I think it's called the Essential Air Service in America. So, these are proper airports, but also most of these places probably have general aviation airports and whatnot. Which means you could fly there, and so if you got your private pilot's license, you could do, let's just say you do it once a month. You do once a month, you fly, a flight you could do to that area, and a service could be done. So, you take the priest on like a Saturday or something, you could fly somewhere, your priest could offer a once a month divine liturgy, or any other service, plus the sacraments to Orthodox Christians that would be otherwise unable to get it. And also, so as we saw, there are plenty of gaps even in the UK. A great example, so we've got some mission parishes that are being established in England. Obviously England isn't quite as helped by it as much. We've got this one here, which is in the northwest, and then over here we've got St. Anne's, and then this was from America, I forget where I got it from though, and then obviously this just shows that there is a lot of places that still need an Orthodox parish, even if it, again, is a once-a-month mission parish. And you could also do this multiple times, so, I don't know, let's just say you live near this parish, hypothetically. I don't know, your first Saturday of the month, you fly out here. Your second Saturday of the month, you fly out here or something. Your third Saturday of the month, you fly out here. Maybe on the fourth Saturday of the month, you I don't know, you do a short flight over here or something. I don't know. Or maybe you just, focus on your own state. That is something that you could do, obviously with your priest or bishop's blessing, if you get your private pilot's license. You could allow for services to happen, and that is what I'm appealing to here with this third point. People who want to convert are often struggling with the fact that there is no parish near them. There is not even a mission for them. Obviously, I should probably acknowledge, and I will acknowledge, that there is a massive priest shortage, especially in America. America isn't even producing enough seminarians to cover the current lot that are eventually going to retire, let alone the need for new parishes and whatnot. But at the very least, and this is obviously requiring a lot of hard work, Lord knows that, a weekly Saturday service, even at your own parish, can be very mentally taxing. Even shorter drives to places nearby, like once every couple of months to do Vespers, only can be mentally taxing. I imagine the constant flying, especially for the priest, obviously I'm not suggesting that the priest fly, would also be taxing. But I think that's also kind of part of the cross of evangelism that we have to bear in this current century. Obviously that's easy for me to say because I'm not actually a priest or anything, but I do want you all to consider this. That you could help establish missions, and these could eventually, see pious Orthodox Christians convert and be baptized. Anyway, I think I've said enough for the point 3. And point 4 is, sorry. Pardon me. Point 4 is serving the parish. Via the previously mentioned points, we see that having a private pilot's license will allow you to serve the parish. The nearest place that sells something... So these are some scenarios that I came up with. The nearest place that sells something important is quite far. Now, this could be, as you can see, even down below, even if this is for my last point, candles for mission parishes, or for smaller communities, that aren't quite as able to get out there. Whatever. Same thing for incense. That's what this is meant to be, for those that don't quite know. Incense and candles can be delivered. As a matter of fact, even the smallest of these private aircraft can still carry a decent amount of incense and candles. Right. And also, let's just say you're having a barbecue with people from your parish. The nearest place that, does them is across the state or something. Or, it's quite far. Why not just fly there rather than waiting for a slower delivery? Or potentially risking cancelling an important event like a barbecue or something. Something that's food for thought. Days out in general, not just pilgrimages, are made a lot easier. Again, it is great to go... It is great to go on pilgrimages, but you don't need to do just that. There are other things that you can do as well, which includes days out. By the way, shout out to the people that followed the Voices of British Orthodoxy where is it? Days out. So we went to Oxford. This, I imagine this would have been a lot easier. This pilgrimage where we visited, I mean, this was a bit more of a pilgrimage, but still. This is literally a day out where we went to the Peak District back in 2024. This would be, I mean, to be fair, the Lake District is quite close, but in general, this kind of day out, let's go and have a nice day out as a community, is made a lot easier if you are, that is made a lot easier if you are able to fly people there. Plus, it's a great, also, a lot of people don't want to hear about how you, what's it called? A lot of, what was my point again? Sorry, I had to quickly do something. Right, I was gonna make a good point. I apologize. Days out, not just pilgrimages, are made a lot easier. You can also run supplies towards missions, candle deliveries and whatnot. Oh yeah, okay, so imagine you are going to a new parish. Maybe you are, maybe your priest is concelebrating with, you go to a different parish and you're speaking. As has been pointed out by people like Ubi Petrus, not everybody wants to hear about, like, all the different types of theology. And so this, you being like, oh yeah, I fly, I have a private pilot's license, and I, through my local flight school, I sometimes borrow an aircraft and fly out to different places. That's a great conversation starter. Because, again, as plenty of YouTubers, Jay Dyer, Ubi Petrus, etc., maybe even Sig, have pointed out, not everybody wants to hear about theology all the time. And, it gives you something that you can talk about. You can talk about how you enjoy flying, how it allows you to even appreciate, that's another point, appreciating the beauty of this world. And looking at God's given creation is so beautiful when you are in control of an aircraft. Anyway, so yeah, as I just shown, days out would be made a lot easier. You could go somewhere a bit more touristy with some people, whatever. If a multiple of you have your pilot licenses and you all rent like an aircraft, as a few aircraft for the day, you could all, as a community, go out and like have a barbecue at some natural place. And then, I guess I'll reread and talk about this. You could also run supplies for your priest and towards said missions, so, delivering candles and incense, which is the real reason why I did put these here. Delivering icons so that they can be sold, etc., etc. Hey, maybe you could even offer your services to these monasteries, and they might actually ask you, out of the kindness or whatever, to do it, which is a great way of assisting your brothers and sisters, especially the ones that are taking on that hard, very difficult cross of being a monastic and, living and, removing yourself from the world. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I hope you've all enjoyed this video. If you already have a private pilot's license, I hope you'll be encouraged to speak with your priest, bishop, about using it to set up missions. And if you don't have your private pilot's license, whether that's because this is the first time you've ever heard of it or whatever, I hope at the bare minimum it will provide some food for thought, as we say in Britain. I hope that it will give you something to think about. And, in Britain and in America, but especially for my British audience, again, if you want to go to places like Iona, where some great fathers are from, if you want to go to south towards Cornwall, it's a lot easier. If you want to head towards Essex Monastery and, new saints like Sophrony of Essex who, established that monastery. If you want to go to Wales and, venerate the Welsh saints. If you want to go to Ireland and potentially help set up missions, these are things that you can do. Because again, Wales, Scotland, parts of England, especially Ireland, and also America, Canada, Mexico, Australia, New Zealand, etc. Any country in the West, Germany, France, Spain, Argentina, whatever, any country that's not Orthodox probably has gaps where you could probably help alleviate that by flying. Anyway, I've been Lazar. I hope you've all enjoyed today's video. I am especially grateful that it is going to be much shorter than the previous one, which lasted for over 2 hours. This one, fortunately, won't be half hour. Anyway, I'm going to love yous and leave yous. God bless you all. And Amen.